Holla ballers! What's going on? It's Preachy, and we're doing a mailbox today because it's Friday and we're taking it easy over at Preachgaming. We're getting ready for the big show tomorrow. We're going to be doing story time with Preach, where I'm going to talk about the darker side of World of Warcraft. This is something that I started... I've done one of in the past, and it was actually overwhelmingly popular with the guys who checked it out, who weren't looking for the main WoW guides, and it's something I want to expand on. So we're going to be talking about the dark side of World of Warcraft, including destroying guilds, things I've been involved with, things I've seen happen to people in the past, all that kind of stuff, and it's stuff you should be aware of. So come and check that out on twitch.tv/preachlfw. Anybody following Facebook, another announcement is that we finally released from our TGN contract. Oh, happy days! Finally released. So we'll be joining with our new partners today, hopefully, and probably at the web show, everything should be done and set in stone. And therefore I can announce who our new partners are, which is going to be fantastic, actually, guys. I'm really looking forward to that one. What we're going to do today is a quick mailbox. Well, I say quick, this is actually a question that opened up a whole can of worms in my head, and I had to think about this for probably about 3 or 4 hours before I actually responded. The question came in from Reese's Box. Preach, I have followed your channel for the last month or so, but noticed besides your old PvP video, you do not do any PvP whatsoever. I saw that you have a PvP team joining your channel, but that it won't be played by yourself. I wanted to know why you hate or don't PvP in WoW, as it seems like a huge part of the game which you ignore completely. Or is it because you think PvP is easier than PvE? Oh, Rhesus! Why? Why, Rhesus, did you ask such a question? My God, talk about racking my brain for hours and how best to respond to this in a sort of concise manner. Oh, I could talk for hours on this subject. I really could. But I'll try and break it down in a nice, easy way. The first thing to do is, why do I not PvP anymore? The PvP grind I did was during the Burning Crusade, when I went for all the gear and got the titles, all that kind of stuff. I have to say, that was probably the most frustrating and angry experience of any game I've had in my entire life. I'll give you a couple of examples as to why. I was obviously playing the Warrior, the boss class, and at the time, Warriors had access to a few things which I personally felt were massively unfair, hugely unfair. And I'm a huge advocate of things being fair and balanced. I love balance, and while PvP is not balanced, we'll get to that shortly. So back in TBC, a weapon was introduced to blacksmiths they could craft for you. It was called the Storm-Herald. Many of you who know what weapon I'm talking about will also know it was also called the Stun-Herald. Yes, it was. The Stun-Herald was a big two-handed mace, and when it first introduced to the game was incredibly powerful. It was one of the top-end weapons for damage, as well as its proc. Its proc allowed you to randomly stun a target for about 2 or 3 seconds. It was pretty impressive proc in PvP, let me add. Because Warriors only had Pummel and Intercept as interrupts. You then mixed in the fact that the Stun-Herald could literally just randomly stun people all the time. It procced a hell of a lot, especially when it first came into the game. So what happened was, Warriors picked up the Stun-Herald straight away, and instantly Warriors shot to the top of the PvP teams, because they would just be attacking a healer, let's say, and just constantly stunning him. Alongside of that is Warriors, in their arms tree, had an ability, a talent called Mace Specialization. Mace Specialization also allowed you to randomly stun the target if you were equipping a two-handed mace. This meant that it was on a different diminishing return as the Stun-Herald proc. So we would have Mace Specialization and Storm-Herald stunning people randomly all the time. If you pulled off a whirlwind and there was a few people around you, it was not uncommon to see all 3 of the team members stunned. It was that stupid. It was insane. These combination of talents and weapons just became so stupidly powerful. And this got to the stage that when I finally hit... the weapon rating, I think at the time it was either 1800 or 1750. Remember, that was a really high rating back then. It really was. Is I spent 30 minutes in front of the vendor, who at the time was in Neocron, just looking at what to pick. And after about 30 minutes, I closed my eyes and I chose the sword, because I just felt in my heart that using the mace was just retarded. I just didn't like it. It felt so stupid, and it crippled me getting to the next rating, which was shoulders. I think shoulders were either 2k or 2.2k, and getting to that level really held me back because I was using a sword. In fact, I was blessed to have a brilliant healer who essentially carried me quite a lot. I still play with him to this day. He's a really good friend, and he was like, "Why have you picked the sword?" And I said, "Dude, the mace is so fucking stupid. I don't want it. It's so unfair. I really want it to just go away and not be anything to do with me whatsoever. And it held us back a long, long way. And Fair Play stuck with me until we got to that higher tier of rating and managed to pick up all the stuff we wanted. So things like that frustrated me no end, because of course every warrior I met was using a Star-Herald or the Mace and proccing stuns on me constantly. And it made me so frustrated and angry. And the fact the game wasn't balanced, and still isn't balanced this day. I've seen no changes whatsoever that suggest the game is currently balanced in any way. In fact, this is one of the main reasons PvP is no longer considered a viable esport. It was dropped from MLG, which was the big coffin nail, really. Around about 2009, I think MLG Columbus was the last time we saw it. And essentially it came down to Wizard Cleave teams, or it's Harry Potter Cleave as they called it, which are essentially elemental shamans and warlocks and some other combination of healer. And it even got so bad as the commentators, who did a fantastic job, were wearing wizard hats and beards while they were commentating, because it was boring as crap. And either you blew somebody up, especially with trinkets like Dislodged Foreign Object, which was an ICC trinket for spell power proc, which was so massively overpowered. Once that proc happened, the team would essentially try and blow somebody up quickly. Within 2 or 3 seconds, they would like lava burst, lightning bolt them, mix in an immolate, a conflag, something like that. And if the person didn't die, they would literally just wait out the games because they couldn't be killed until the trinkets came back off cooldown and then tried to blow someone up again. That was how the game devolved. It was at this time as well, a little history lesson for you today, guys, is that around about that time is when the community took the biggest nosedive ever. Really bad. So on topic, before we get back to that, is that it was so I found myself becoming physically and emotionally angry while playing. If I was to play something like a Hunter Druid combo, I would be CC'd for nearly 40 seconds every time their CCs were up, which would only take 5 or 6 seconds in between that 40 seconds, and then you would be CC'd entirely again. And essentially you just watch the healer, my healer, run around and do his best he can to free me up, but would essentially just be constantly DPS'd by the Hunter and the Druid, who would just drain his mana constantly until the game was over. They were long, boring, tedious games. There was other combinations like SL locks. I don't know if you remember this. It was a Soul Link and Siphon Life lock, who would just dot you up and drain life. Try killing a Soul Link lock who had a Void Walker up, which was a massive reduction to physical damage, and could essentially not be killed without certain combinations of blowing the pet up, and then just wailing away and a guy who took barely any damage. It was so frustrating and angry that once I actually hit the rank and got all my stuff, I never played again. I just could not see the point in why I was feeling physically angry, physically wound up, hot in the room, like getting emotionally invested in something that I'd never really enjoyed. A win wasn't enjoyable, it was a relief. It was like, wow, we won, especially if we beat one of these teams, because they had to make a tremendous mistake for us to actually win. Unless we got a team, and we actually felt like, oh, thank God, a team we can actually beat. If we got something like a Priest Rogue, then it was realistically viable to have a good game against them. And that really spoiled it for me. I'd literally just never played again. And I have seen no indications that that has changed at all in PvP. Some classes are really overpowered, some classes are hugely underpowered and not represented at all, and the cycle just continuously repeats. This is why PvP has been dropped. So I'll get back to the community. As I said, around about ICC time, when things like Dislodge Foreign Objects and Wizard Cleaves became very, very prevalent, is when the community for me took such a massive nosedive into a cesspool which has spoiled websites and ruined the PvP genre across the broadcasting side, which is what I do, to the point where it is now. And I just do not want that community coming to my channel. I really don't. I'll give you some examples of how bad it got. World of Ming was one of the most viable and originators of WoW PvP websites on the internet. It was so cool. We had a rogue called Ming who was one of the greatest rogues back in the day. And then when he retired from being sort of competitive and making videos and stuff like that, he started a website. He saw the business opportunity in World of Warcraft. One of the first guys to say, well, you know, if we combine our efforts and start actually talking to the community, we can do something here. We can actually make some cash maybe. And we can also talk about and make some money in a business we enjoy. That's what we're trying to do. There's two types of people who make videos, especially about World of Warcraft. There are those who think they can make a few YouTube videos and make some money. And there are those who look to see there's possibly a business here in a field I really, really enjoy, which is what I'm aiming at. Is there's the possibility of me being able to talk and play video games, World of Warcraft, and whatever the next game is, and hopefully entertain you guys in a way that I can make it into a business for myself and do this something I just truly enjoy every day. I can wake up and think, well, today I have to play video games and talk about World of Warcraft. Fuck yeah, baby. That sounds awesome to me. It's going to take me a lot of work. In fact, it's looking like I'll have to work for about a year at this before I see any reasonable results, and that's fine. I'm cool with that. You've got to pay your dues in this industry. You fight your way through the masses to do it. And I'm going to do it along the PvE route because that's what I enjoy. That's what I love. And I love talking about World of Warcraft with you guys. I love that. So, World of Ming has got a blog site, basically. And the initial response to it was fantastic. And it became the big explosion of PvP World of Warcraft. And they could start paying their bloggers about $10 a blog, which was no money in that at all. You can't make a business out of doing a blog once a week for $10. You're never going to pay your bills with $40 a month. That isn't going to happen. But essentially they could give something back. So you could earn some money from doing that. Just through ad revenue. The same as YouTube works. None of us like adverts, but adverts pay our bills. That's the way it works, guys. And World of Ming started posting blogs on a daily basis, and it was fantastic. I never once posted a comment on World of Ming, but I read it every single day. Such as people who don't post comments on my YouTube videos, but they watch them every time it comes up. And that's cool. They just like the content, really enjoy it, and then they go away and they'll wait for the next one. That's awesome. That's exactly how you want it to be. And that's exactly the way I was with World of Ming. I wasn't a huge PvPer, but I loved the content. It was relevant to my interests, and I just read it and absorbed and consumed the content and thought, this is really good. These are top-end PvPers talking about World of Warcraft, and I want to know about that stuff. I want to know about the next big arena tournament. I want to know who's playing, what we're going to see, what we're going to predict, how classes have changed in PvP, all that kind of stuff. World of Ming, around 2010, started at a rule where they wouldn't ban anybody. They wouldn't censor their website. And that developed into the biggest trolling, vile, disgusting community I have ever seen on the internet, bar probably the League of Legends community. The early low League of Legends community is also in this state right now, and it's really sad. The World of Ming content almost became secondary to how trollish the comments could be. How disgusting and vile can you be to the people who are providing you this content? And people would start visiting World of Ming to try and be in competition with the other trolls on the website to try and become the bigger troll. How awful can my comments be so I get noticed as the best troll on World of Ming? Now, World of Ming sort of let this slide for a while. It was a sort of new thing. Some of it was funny. Don't get me wrong. That's the tragic part about it, is we see something that is truly horrendous, but sometimes it's actually quite funny. So we do laugh to ourselves. Then you've got ad sales clients coming in. You're saying, look, our site gets, 70,000 views a day, or whatever it might have been at the time. Hey, we can get 70,000 views a day on my website. Tons of traffic. Can we get some advertising up there, or maybe better advertising than we get with our basic sort of Google AdSense, which is sort of the bones of the bones. Everybody can get it, but you don't earn a great deal. But then you talk to a company and say, look, we're getting tons of traffic. Can we get better ad sales in on the site? And they'd be like, wow, your site is really professional. Your site looks good. You've got good regular content from high-profile players. Really like it. And then they would check the comments, because of course these ad sales guys research what they're investing into and go, whoa, 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 whoa. You've got a guy here saying he wants to bone Hitler, or he wants to burn your children, or whatever horrific thing he wants to do to you. We don't want anything to do with that. We don't need our adverts linked with bigoted, racist comments. And eventually, World of Ming closed down because of that. They tried to build a new site where it would be fresh, but the community just followed and it continued. They then tried to censor the community, but because they'd let it go for a year or two, with the actual focus essentially being on who was the biggest troll, is when they actually started banning the trolls, the community died off because their community wasn't there for the content anymore. Do you understand what I'm saying? If you let something go on for so long, then you'll lose the people who visited for the content, such as myself. I stopped reading. I changed from reading every day to once every few days to maybe once a month. I'll catch up on a few blogs if I've got some free time. But the rest of the community was there to out-troll the trolls. And that breeds such a cesspool of vile, vile comments that when they actually said, no, we're going to get back to fresh, good content, we'll get rid of the trolls, is nobody was interested, because that big portion of the community who was there for the content had disappeared, and only the trolls remained, and the site died. Warcraft Movies is heading in this same direction, sadly, and that's sad because I made my name on Warcraft Movies. My first video, the PvP video, Way of the Warrior by Preach, got over 500,000 views and got a 4.9 out of 5 rating. I attracted so much attention that for up to 2 years after I made that video, people were still logging onto the server on level 1s to say, dude, when's the next video coming? And I loved Warcraft Movies. I checked it every day. I did. I checked. They had a good mix of PvE content that was good PvE content. If you were a world first boss kill, it went on Warcraft Movies. YouTube was in its early stages then, and you know, essentially we saw some stuff on YouTube, but if you wanted good Warcraft content, you went to Warcraft Movies. They had great PvPers who put a lot of effort into their videos. They weren't just video montages. That's actually the way the culture has nosedived again. Is now all we see now is generally video montages with a few comments of text over, oh, I stunned this guy here, I used silencing shot here, I'm really fucking awesome, check me out. And these are really great players, but essentially what they're doing now is they've diversified from being really good solid content. If you look at something like Zalgaradis' PvP video, Maydai's PvP video, Lane Time, they're still montages, but they put so much effort into them, it's unbelievable. There was commentary, there was a story, there was things involved, it was a bit of machinima mixed into it, and that's how the PvP video was heading for. And my video was very similar to that. My video was still gameplay commentary, gameplay montages, but I overlaid it with a commentary from me and Ghost, I mixed in some story, I mixed in some PvE, and it took me 6 months to create that video. Now we're firing out videos on a regular basis that are just low quality, get me some views. And this is partly YouTube's fault as well, is once you say to people, hey, you can make some money off this, then they'll just pump out videos to gain views. Pump out video after video after video with no effort, with no... in fact, Total Biscuit is a big advocate of this, and I use a true inspiration to myself in the style of stuff I do, including answering questions to you guys, is... videos for views' sake will never work, and this is why we have in TGM WoW we would recruit sort of 4 or 5 directors, and in a month's time recruit another 4 or 5, because those 4 or 5 had disappeared entirely because they were just pumping out hey, you know, you'll get paid for 1,000 views. Oh, I'll pump out loads of videos, where's my paycheck? Well, you don't get paid for like at least 3 months after you start with YouTube. What the hell? That can't be right. Oh, I'm out of here. Oh, this is rubbish. I haven't had an immediate amazing response from the community. I'm gone. And that was what would happen at TGM WoW all the time. Is you get an introduction video, a couple of videos afterwards, ideas would run dry, and the fact that it was just a video for views' sake would be responded to by the community as this is garbage, really bad. And Warcraft Movies is essentially turned into that same thing. We don't see major stories on there anymore. Maybe the odd one or two, but essentially it's people linking their YouTube videos of them just playing the game and just uploading it for views' sake, which never works long term. You can't just make a video for views' sake. That just doesn't work. People will respond to that badly, and that's not a long-term plan. There's also always got to be a long-term plan. So the community is so vile at the moment and disgusting that I'm hoping there's going to be a big switch towards where the StarCraft 2 community is now, which has its various trolls, but it's also got some good, solid community aspects where people are friendly, they're playing together, discussing tactics and stuff with each other. Nobody discusses tactics anymore in a PvP WoW video. They don't. They find a fault. They can watch a 20-minute video and find a fault at 11 minutes and 30 seconds and then lambast you in the comments for making that fault. Oh my god, how did you not cyclone this guy at 3:31 or 12 and 56 seconds? You're the worst player I have ever seen. Oh, and the community is really like that now, and that was really prevalent on when I posted on TGM WoW. Is I posted what I thought was my content, which is hugely successful for me. I posted that in a community which is heavily PvP orientated, which is what TGM WoW is, and the response was horrific. I put one of my class guides on there. Oh my god, they would just be like, what the F is this? What am I watching? This is awful. You suck. Get away from me. We even had downvotes before the video had processed. So they couldn't have even watched the video. Simple as. And they would be downvoting it saying you suck, video's too long, stuff like that. And I never really posted anything major on TGN WoW again. I did fluff videos for those, which I wasn't proud of, and stopped doing as soon as I possibly could. And that's one issue, is that I don't want that community moving over to my channel. Until the community improves, which I don't think it will. I think we're lost, really, in the PvP community. And now you're asking yourself, Preachy, why do you think the PvP community is like that? It can't be down to World of Ming. One of the problems is PvP in itself in World of Warcraft is that it's so frustrating and angry. You then mix that in with the average PvP audience, and this is taken from analytics, guys, is between the age of 13 and 16. And that's boys and girls, by the way. That is the age you hit puberty, essentially, or majorly go into puberty. And you are filled with emotional outbursts. And I've been through it, and you guys have gone through it as well, or will go through it, is you are filled with emotional outbursts. Naturally. You combine getting heat flushes and all that kind of internal emotion. You hate your parents, you hate the world, blah, blah, blah. You mix that into a completely frustrating and angry experience of being in PvP arenas on a regular basis, getting pwned by some class that you feel is overpowered, and you just have these ridiculous, angry outbursts all over the internet. These uncensored, uncontrolled, violent rages which manifest themselves in ridiculous community comments, and then it becomes almost a gang behaviour. When a top PvPer says, oh, well, PvE is easy mode, then you get this gang mentality that follows alongside that. And even though these guys have never been great at PvP or great at PvE, it all goes together in this big gang mentality. And it doesn't affect everybody. This is a generalisation, of course. There are tons of PvPers who watch my channel as well. And those are great guys. Those are really great guys who understand what my channel is about, and are not part of this gang, angry, frustrated mentality, F the world sort of way of thinking, and just looking for any old fault they can find. And that's brilliant, and those are the guys I want on my community. I want them to be part of my YouTube channel. Eventually, as we grow larger and larger, we're certainly going to attract more and more people who are trollish in nature. But that doesn't actually bother me. It's just that in the short term, I don't want to just try and pull all that community to my channel. I don't like it, and I don't want it. So that's essentially two of the reasons there. One, I don't enjoy PvP, and two, until the community improves, I don't see why I should cater to that community. I really don't. Right. And especially, I think if I made PvP videos, it would be videos for views' sake, and I don't like that at all. I don't make YouTube videos for money. I really don't. In the long term, maybe there's a business here, but at the moment, no, it's a hobby. That's what I do. So, next one. Do you think PvP is easier than PvE? The experienced guys are instantly going to respond. They're completely different kettles of fish. These are apples and oranges. If PvP is nothing like PvE, and PvE is nothing like PvP. A totally different skill set. In fact, there's very, very, very few people who can translate into being a top PvPer and a top PvEer. Now, you might find that ridiculous, but trust me, this is the case. I'll give you a specific example of this. During the Burning Crusade, when I was in a very competitive top world guild, we were having trouble finding players who were good enough for our guild. Especially during Ulduar, when we were going for the big hard modes, there were fights which were really, really difficult, and we were struggling for members because it was a long, long grind Ulduar. There was so many bosses, a fantastic instance, one of the best Blizzard has ever made, but keeping up with hardcore raiding for a really, really extended period of time is not easy on anybody's life. It really isn't, and it's a commitment that some people halfway through will go, you know what, guys, I just cannot keep up anymore. I need to take a break, and the guild still needs to go on. So we were looking for a lot of members. Now, because we were struggling to find really good PvE players, or PvE experienced players, the PvP players also started to apply, because the arena season was in its mid area. They only had to do their 10 games a week, and they were looking for something more to do in the game. We recruited around about 14 or 15 of the top PvPers on the server Horde side, including 4 or 5 people who had rank 1 in the past, and players who were generally always in the top 3 of PvP, and very much recommendations of the top PvPers we had at the time. We had a priest called Casabaras, who was rank 1 in the world as Priest Ret Pally. Rank 1 in the world, and he was a fantastic guy, really, really nice guy from Poland. And he was one of the few people I met who could translate his skills into PvE and be a great PvE priest as well. PvP players tend to have a greater awareness of all their class abilities. They tend to be able to use every tool in the toolbox because they need them for PvP. Whereas it's arguable that in PvE, you don't need every tool in your toolbox, therefore you can get away with skipping a few of the major spells. Cure Disease for Priest was one of the major ones. Asking the Priest to dispel diseases at Lich King for the first time was like, shit, I need to drag that to my bars. Whereas PvP Priests, of course, are already doing that. So things like that cross over a little bit. The problem was, out of the 13 or 14 top PvPers, a lot of them were rogues. The top rogues in the world were complete shite at PvE. Really bad. Like, we were laughing to the point where it was like, I cannot believe this guy is a top PvPer. Because some of our guys were great PvPers as well. But we brought in this guy who'd been, I can't remember his name, began with B. He was one of the most notorious PvPers on the server, this rogue. And he had the gear. We geared him up. His DPS was low. We were like, wow, his DPS is pretty low. But let's gear him up a little bit. So we threw some PvE gear at him. So he was about equal geared or slightly less than our other rogues. Yet was consistently miles behind the damage. Miles behind. The guy had just had no experience with how you do maximum PvE DPS while maintaining high survivability. Sure, in a clinch situation in PvP, you can pull off some really amazing tricks and skills. But then translating that to a PvE environment where for the next 10 minutes he needs to put out huge, consistent damage and keep himself alive while negotiating the various mechanics of the fight, could not cope whatsoever. And we gave the guy months to sort of adjust to it. And in the end we had to say, I'm sorry, your trial has failed. You're just not good enough for us. And that was a big eye-opener for us as we did this consistently. I think only 2 of the PvP players survived in our guild, and only Casabaras was the priest who was actually stood out for us. The other PvP was okay, good enough for the guild, I suppose, a bit of a weak link that we could carry, but he carried aspects and skills and spells, and he also turned up, which was what we needed at the time, is you need guys who turn up. And it was strange to see that PvP players, if they focus so heavily onto just PvP and try and translate to PvE, really struggle. The same as a top PvE player. If I was just to go and say, I'm going to PvP now, I would be awful. I'd be really bad. I would be really crap for a long time unless they invested a heavy amount of time into it. So this is the problem. And no one is not easier than the other. It just isn't true. Especially when you're talking high-end. If you're in mid-card, well, it doesn't really matter anyway. And I'm talking mid-card is like the top 2,000 guilds or the guys floating around 1,800 rating. Then you're arguably fighting against your own skill level more than anything else. You might blame the comps. Sure, you can go ahead and blame, oh, this is overpowered, that's overpowered. But it isn't really. You're just not able to cope with the situation fast enough or well enough in order to beat it. Because these people who are playing the same setup as you, playing the same class as you, who are miles ahead of you, probably 700-800 rating above you on a regular basis, those guys are just consistently better than you. The same as when you get into PvE, 2 rogues equally geared, one will consistently outdamage the other for reasons that he's just a better player than you. He's reading the situation better, he's adapting to it better, and he's playing generally better. One is not easier than the other. And they're just completely different skill sets. And trying to say, well, he's a really good PvE player, so he must be good at PvP. No, not at all. If I invested time into PvP, sure, I think I'd be pretty good at it. I probably wouldn't be top in the world by any means. I would have to sort of invest my entire life into it, and I don't see the reward of doing that because I just don't enjoy it. Simple as. That would be rubbish. But in terms of one being easier than the other, no, not at all. Not at the high end. In the mid-card, everybody blames everybody else. A mid-card PvE player will blame the rest of the guild. A mid-card PvP player will blame comps and he'll blame his own setup, he'll blame his teammates, he'll blame everything under the world without accepting the fact that he's probably just not up to the scratch yet. And that's one of the hardest decisions we make in World of Warcraft, is we accept we've still got a lot to learn. Even the top PvPers have got a lot to learn. The idea of being skill-capped, not to borrow from their name, is just not possible. You can't be skill-capped. There's always an improvement to be made, and the top guys accept that and work on it. They practice constantly. StarCraft 2 is a great example of this. There's no such thing as a guy winning a major tournament and saying, well, I'm capped now at StarCraft 2 skill. No, they're still practicing and training 13, 14 hours a day to constantly improve, because there's always something new to be found out. And unless you invest time in one or the other, you're of course going to think it's easy. It's always the lower or mid-card players who have a lot to blame on everything else that says that this is easier, or that's easier, or God, this is overpowered. I only lost because of this. I lost because of the comp. I lost because of RNG. There's a huge post by the Paragon Guildmaster, or Guild Leader at the time, or Raid Leader, Lazael, or Lazai, who made a huge blog, and it was a brilliant read about RNG and how it is non-existent in the PvE environment. There is no such thing as we wiped to RNG. There is a counter to absolutely every situation. Now, sure, there might be some serious moments that causes a player death, but that's why we have 3 combat reses. Everything else, if you've not got those combat reses, it's probably because there was a fault earlier in the fight which wasn't dealt with properly. If every situation is dealt with properly, as it should be, you will not wipe. You will consistently play and you'll be able to counter everything that they throw at you. Just because Omnitron Defense System was a huge example of this, is people would say this is massive RNG and to watch order I get the robots. It wasn't true in a 25-man environment. In a 10-man environment it was definitely the case because it was so unbalanced at the time. If the encounter is unbalanced, then of course there's some elements which are going to suck. But in a balanced PvE environment, every single situation is counterable in some way. And in PvP, it's exactly the same. Everything can be countered in some way. Okay, that was a long one, guys. I'm going to take a break. You take it easy, ballers, and I'll see you tomorrow.